I actually really enjoyed this James Degale, Chris Eubank Jr. face-to-face, as ITV are calling it. Other networks call it something else. On Sky Sports, it's called The Gloves Are Off. On HBO, who are the originators of it, they called it Face Off. Many different networks have copied this particular format. And each time a network copies this format, you get a backlash. You get people saying, oh, it's nowhere near as good as HBO's when Sky did it. Then Box Nation were doing it. Oh, it's nowhere near as good as Sky's. Then when, ITV have started doing it, now people are saying this is nowhere near as good as Sky's version. I think people get familiar with something and then they don't like change. That's what it tends to be a lot of the time. I personally don't think the Sky Sports Gloves Are Off is generally that great. You got Johnny Nelson there and he does an okay job, but I don't personally think it's that great. I never have. I always preferred HBO Max Kellerman. But with this ITV face-to-face, I actually quite liked this. Now, some people are going to criticize the decor and the location and all this kind of business. They're trying to do something a little different, right? But I liked it. I think this individual, whose name escapes me at the moment, did a good job. He's fairly understated, but sometimes that's what you need to be. He let the fighters do most of the talking. It was interesting because you've got two people who struggle to be in the same room as each other, particularly James Degale. He is extremely aggravated by Chris Eubank Jr., and it's been this way for years. And that can only work, as far as I'm concerned, to Chris Eubank Jr.'s favor, because with Billy Joe Saunders is quite a confrontational, aggressive, assertive character. He's used to talking trash. He wasn't unnerved by Chris Eubank Jr. at all, Billy Joe Saunders. He was motivated by Chris Eubank Jr.'s aloof attitude and all that kind of business. He was motivated by it. And of course, it was a massively pro Billy Joe Saunders crowd when he fought Eubank Jr. So Billy Joe, the point I'm making is Billy Joe wasn't unnerved or overly angry or anything like that. He was in a good place mentally going into the Eubank Jr. fight, from what I could see anyway. And the same goes for George Groves. George Groves really didn't pay much attention to what Eubank Jr. was saying before the fight. He didn't appear agitated. He just appeared like passive. He didn't really care what Eubank Jr. was saying. Now, I was alarmed by how George Groves looked at the weigh-in, as a lot of people were, but come fight night, he looked great. He looked fully hydrated, and it was actually Eubank Jr. who looked nervous. But in this instance here, with Degale and Eubank, Degale just seems so agitated by everything that Eubank Jr. says. Eubank Jr. is just there, sat there smiling, smirking, and Degale just seems agitated all the time. He is far more agitated than I remember George Groves or Billy Joe Saunders being when they were face to face with Eubank. And again, I think that's going to play into Eubank Jr.'s hands. Personally, I think if you had a prime James Degale against Eubank Jr., I think prime James Degale beats him on points. But do we have a prime James Degale anymore? Almost certainly not. How far has James Degale slid? How far has he deteriorated? How much has he deteriorated, rather? Has he deteriorated sufficiently for Eubank Jr. to beat him? Eubank Jr. is with a new trainer now who's trying to fix up his technique. Will he be able to make enough of a difference, combined with James Degale's deterioration, to give Eubank Jr. the victory? A lot of people have talked about the Caleb Truax fights. Eubank Jr. is not as good a pressure fighter as Caleb Truax. I would pick Eubank Jr. to beat Truax because styles make fights. But in terms of the footwork that Truax uses to cut down the ring, the technique he uses to cut down the ring against James Degale, Eubank Jr.'s technique of cutting off the ring is not that good. We saw it against George Groves. We saw it against Billy Joe Saunders. When he has to cut off the ring, he's not very good at doing it. He's much more comfortable on the back foot with people coming at him. But when he has to go forward, his footwork is horrible. Has it improved under the new trainer? Maybe it has. We'll see. But have a watch of this, people. James Degale versus Eubank Jr. face to face. Did you find it as interesting as I did? Did you find it as entertaining as I did? Let me know what you think. Again, I've seen a lot of people say, oh, it's terrible. It's nowhere near as good as Sky. Again, I think people get used to certain things. They've got used to Johnny Nelson. They've got used to the way Sky do it. But me, I don't tend to get used to things. I tend to look at things more objectively. You know, sometimes I get used to certain things. Don't get it twisted. There are certain, let's say, commentators from back in the days who weren't particularly great commentators, but because I was used to them and because they were commentators during a golden age of boxing, I kind of got a soft spot for certain commentators who were not that great. But in many instances, I can look at something like this, Gloves Are Off, very objectively, and to me, this is just as good as Sky's or Box Nation's, not as good as HBO's in my opinion, but I think it was good. I think they did a good job. I like them changing up the camera angles and, doing something different. I think it's fresh. I'm getting kind of tired of the Sky Gloves Are Off, to be honest with you, their format and the way they do it. Sometimes you get a good one. Sometimes you get an interesting one, but, not all the time. So for ITV to go with a different look, this industrial look down in a basement somewhere, doing something different with the camera angles and what have you, I think it's nice and it's fresh. It's something different. So I'm not adverse to change and people trying to do it slightly differently. I think it was good. So yeah, that was my impression of it. I think Degale is a little too easy to wind up, and he's going to need to keep his mind calm and not allow Eubank Jr. to get under his skin. Not allow Eubank Jr. to throw him off his game. He's going to need to be the one who agitates Eubank Jr. He's going to need to be the one who makes Eubank Jr. feel uncomfortable. And if he can do that, and if he can fight to anywhere near the level that he used to be at when he was beating people like Andre Durrell, then I think he wins this fight. But if he allows Eubank Jr. to get to him, and if his, if he's deteriorated sufficiently, and if Eubank Jr. has improved with regards to his footwork and his pressure fighting ability, maybe Eubank Jr. will take it. And also, Eubank Jr. needs to make sure that he doesn't freeze again, because as far as I'm concerned, he choked against George Groves and he choked against Billy Joe Saunders. I mean, he came out against Billy Joe Saunders and he wasn't throwing any damn punches for the first few rounds. He says he got the tactics wrong. No, he didn't get the tactics wrong. He froze. He couldn't get his punches off. That's what happens when you freeze. The man could not get his punches off. His dad was imploring him in the corner to throw some damn punches. Ronnie Davis was imploring him in the corner, throw some damn punches, but he had frozen. And it took him a good few rounds to snap out of it. And I think he froze again against George Groves because deep down Eubank Jr. is not as confident as his dad was as a fighter. His dad had innate confidence, this innate, built-in, natural confidence, which his son doesn't have. His son can front and act as though he's as confident as his dad was, but he's not. And I'm not saying he's some kind of, somebody with really low self-esteem or anything. No, he's not. We're talking about from a relative point of view. But compared to his dad, his baseline level of confidence is nowhere near as high. But he has to front and he has to act and pretend as though it is. But we've found out now a couple of times that it's not. His dad rose to the occasion. Oh yeah, he did. When Chris Eubank Sr. stepped up multiple levels to take on Nigel Benn the first time, he rose to the occasion. That was a huge step up for Eubank Sr. against Nigel Benn in that first fight. But he stepped up to the plate and he got the victory. Eubank Jr. hasn't managed to do that. As much as he has athletic talent, technically he's lacking. And emotionally, he's come up short a couple times too. So, but like I say, I think getting James Degale upset and annoying him, making him fight angry, frustrating him, that's going to work to Eubank Jr.'s benefit. Yeah. The calmer Degale stays, the better chance he has of winning the fight. But if he lets Eubank Jr. get under his skin, he might be in trouble. So we'll see. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. It's happening, I'm out.
Join me on Patreon. I upload a minimum of 2 podcasts every single week, covering a wide variety of controversial topics, as well as live stream Q&A sessions. Take a look on screen right now at some of the podcasts I've produced so far. For just $3 a month, the equivalent of about £2 a month, you get access to all my new podcasts and my entire back catalogue of past podcasts, including my popular Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. You can listen on your computer or on your smartphone or tablet by downloading the Patreon app from the Google Play Store or the App Store for free. The Patreon app also allows you to download each podcast in MP3. For less than the price of a cup of coffee, you get access to dozens of hours of exclusive content. It's easy to sign up, there's no contract, and you can cancel at any time. So come and join our community of free and critical thinkers by signing up with me here on Patreon today.